You have 30 minutes to hide a USB drive in your house. Your house will then be raided by police, detectives and some FBI agents all searching for the USB. Where do you hide it so that it won't be found? Heat up the bottom of one of my jar candles until I can slip the wax out. I've done it before. Hollow out a space in it, put it in, and put the whole thing back in the jar. I've done it before. In the handle on my oven door. The screw loosened and one side fell down. When I went to fix it, I noticed it was hollow. You could probably fit 15 in there. Was thinking between the glass of the oven door. I recently discovered I can access that space between the glass. If I could do that, I would print and insert a picture of a clean oven interior. Give it to my 4-year-old and say don't lose this, bud. Poof, that thing is gone for at least a year. This made me think of just putting it in a Nerf gun and shooting it in an empty room. Those darts just disappear. Just tape it to a sock and then do the laundry. Well, that gives me enough time to pop the circuit board out of the casing and just randomly solder it to a nondescript part of another piece of electronics in my house. I can then burn the casing. My CDT teacher would be so proud. Unless they're really good at their job, they're not finding it. Edit, thank you for the gold, etc. for my very silly plan. I think this one might be the best answer, as no other answer addresses dogs trained to sniff out things like SD and USB drives. I'm not kidding, they bring them in on child NORC cases where the evidence is often on a drive hidden away from the computer. Having the USB circuit board look like a piece of electronics on a random device, computer's gonna get confiscated, might work as the device might trigger the dog, but the trainer think it is supposed to have a memory board. They find the one that is supposed to be there but don't find the hidden one. The key there is to litter the place with cheap storage media. Just have the dogs hitting on everything. Who is going to open up a mouse, alarm clock, cell phone, microwave? Look closely at the circuit board, realize there is an additional component not required for the device to function. Research said device, discover it is the flash drive with the casing removed. Not the police or the FBI, that is more like Sherlock Holmes times 10,000. I think we need to check the ops hard drive. My yard, nobody goes in there and comes back alive. Your yard is peppered with landmines too. Take out floating rubber ball thingy from toilet tank. Cut a slit in the bottom of the floating rubber ball thingy and shove it inside of that. Super glue the slit shut, and replace it. Yeah, that's some high-level thinking. Toilet tank is the first place they are gonna look. If that many of them are showing up, it's imminent danger stuff. They are def going to have an electronics sniffing dog. The dog steps into the house and just starts to fucking lose it at the TV. It's okay, boy. Pizza commercials always confuse you. In the broken porcelain on my sink, then patch it with instant noodles. Pull the latch plate off my door frame, chisel a slightly deeper hole, pop then USB in there and replace the plate. Who would ever think to look there? What if the FBI opens your door using the shotgun method? Then no flash drive for them and you go away scot-free cause it was the cops who destroyed the evidence. My brother died last year, and substance abuse played a large part in his passing. He had a very successful business that he sold, so he was quite wealthy. At one point, he decided it was a great time to explore leveraging his position to buy Bitcoin. He borrowed $500,000 in December of 2018 and bought Bitcoin. But he became paranoid when he started using Xanax heavily. He hid $25,000 in his house when he was wasted, and couldn't remember where. He told his housekeeper he'd give her $5,000 if she found it. She did, at the bottom of a box of Ziploc baggies. His final act of paranoia was to place all of his Bitcoin on an encrypted cold storage USB drive that he hid in the house. Several encrypted drives were found in the house, but nobody knows the password. He had a synchronized encrypted Apple Notes password file on his Apple devices, but nobody knows the password to that. So there is $1 million plus sitting on a USB drive, but no way to get at it. Sorry to hear about your brother, but have you tried 1234 or password 1? Thanks, he lived a crazy full throttle life. My other brother has the drives, and I haven't played with them at all. He was full on paranoid, so I suspect the password is something elaborate. Have you tried having someone bang on the keyboard really loudly while typing super fast for a few minutes before saying I'm in? That always works for me. I'm homeless. There's no house for them to raid. Checkmate. You can hide it everywhere in the streets. Glued to the underside of my wheelie bin handle. There's a space right under it which should be enough for a USB drive. If they flip it over to rummage through the trash, then they'll be holding it with their hand. Either that or under the insulation inside my attic. I'll tape it to the back of an LSE of a fan and turn the fan on. Under the dead body in the freezer. I'd leave it out in front of my so she will always tidy away my stuff and I'll never be able to find it. Only the other day I was working on something, left the room for 5 minutes and poof, everything was gone and in several locations including Narnia. Do you have a magic laundry basket too? If I don't need easy access to it when they leave, I'll remove a wall outlet and push it through a hole on the back of the electric box into the wall cavity. Impossible to find without ripping out all the drywall, since there will be no evidence that it was put in there once I put the outlet back in. Do just this and the sniffer dog would have it in 10 minutes. Go one further, the police triumphantly find the chip, but continue searching from due diligence. The dog finds other chips, and again alerts officers to the original hide. Nothing inside. Extreme diligence runs the void finder and metal detector just in case. No holes, no metal save the screws holding perfectly normal drywall. Even careful measuring of the hide returns normal widths on everything. Diligence complete, officers take the chi back to the lab and find it heavily encrypted. Their office nerds are confident it can be cracked in a few months, may a year. They get to work. Office nerds then have an amazing rate of suicide over the next few years because the encryption is based on Depeche Mode music, and they get too depressed to go on. The one Depeche Mode fan in the group succeeds but finds a second layer of encryption based on smooth jazz. Padre has to hire a new group of lab nerds, thus never finding out the chip is merely a decoy. The actual chip is still in the carefully searched wall, behind the outlet box, covered by a normal-looking 2 half layers of drywall with cut-off screw heads over the chip. If somehow the officers do find it, there is a single unencrypted file with a nude photo of myself, thus anyone foolish enough to even look at it is permanently struck blind. Edit, thanks all for the rewards. First of any type, and I seem to really have cleaned up. Bury it in the insulation in the attic. It would take days to sift through it all to find a USB drive. The bonus would be that they'd find my tape measure that I lost a few years ago. I was finishing up a project in my attic last year, putting tools away, and couldn't find my tape measure, so I went back up and started digging around in the insulation to find where I left it. While doing that, a 2x4 I stepped on rolled on its side, dumping me off and sending me through the drywall, and into my bedroom below. After I recovered, I looked across the room and saw my tape measure sitting on my dresser. It wasn't in the attic after all. Op is a cop on the scene serving a warrant, trying to find a USB stick they're certain is on site. Nice try. Come back with a warrant. I can only imagine that right now somewhere in the world there is a group of FBI agents raiding a house, sweating, not being able to find a specific USB. Their boss is on their ass. Their last hope is to consult the all-knowing members of the AskReddit community. Put it inside a hot dog and give it to my dog. He never chews anything and just gulps it down. The next time he takes a dump, I retrieve it. Address it to yourself and drop it through the neighbor's mail slot. Make sure it's a neighbor that works late. They won't find it because it's not there, and then hopefully your neighbor will notice that they got your mail and return it. Put it in the sink with all the dirty dishes. Seems like everything that gets put in the sink instantly turns invisible to everyone but me. Wrap it in a little foil, then push it down into a jar of mayonnaise. Then smooth the top layer of the mayo, and put it back in the fridge. Rinse the utensil you used to push it down into the mayo with. Where will you hide the USB drive so the police can't find it? Leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you wanna see more videos like this one.